It is the 13th of January 2024, Saturday, a very warm welcome. It's time to see what's happening in China. I'm just wondering where this mug was made. Oh, it doesn't say, but anyhow. So, what's been happening? Well, today is a very important day in the Republic of China. That would be Taiwan, because they are holding their general elections. This is the confusing part. Is mainland China part of Taiwan, or is Taiwan part of China, related to the one China policy? For me, it's not very clear. But if we go through history a little bit, in 1911, I do believe, the Republic of China basically overthrew the dynasties. Now, you may have seen the movie starring David Niven with The Last Emperor. Do go and watch it, and you can see how the dynasty changed into Republic of China. But after World War II in 1945, the Japanese have left and given up, surrendered to the Chinese because of the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, something or the other, and Japan left. And then it was the Communist Party of China, led by Mao, who didn't do anything during the war. He basically hid in the southwest of China, away from all the action on the east coast of it. Then they declared a civil war to the Republic of China. We all know that they won, and in 1949, Mao announced to the world that China is now the People's Republic of China. And the Republic of China basically fled to the island of Taiwan, and being Chinese, they would call it the Republic of China. And it's been at loggerheads ever since. Taiwan basically has a democracy, and China basically doesn't. They do say Chinese democracy, but that's just, for me, manipulation of words. Again, we can go to the Cambridge Dictionary, and it will give a clear definition of democracy. What China does is say this is Chinese democracy, and they just manipulate it, which is wrong. And the people who do advertise this know it's wrong, but they just manipulate people. There are so many people in China, these Westerners who live in China, and always go pro-CCP, and they hate the Western media. They hate the American government. They say it's all wrong, and China is just the best place to live in the world, related to, Xi Jinping, the leader, the president, the dictator. The actual correct title is General Secretary of all of China. But does that include Taiwan? This is where it gets a bit confusing. I sort of always believe why many countries changed in 1979, saying that Taiwan is not a country, is because the world opened up to China, and they said they wanted the cheap labor there, but they had to admit that mainland China was the one and only China, period. But way back in 1972, they said that Taiwan is its own country. So how things change, and I would say why they changed, because mainland China opened up to the world around about 1979. People wanted to do trade. China was offering really cheap deals on manufacturing, etc. And of course, if you're a businessman, hey, do that. All you got to do is say that Taiwan is not a country and a province of China. Now, if we go to the headlines of this, I'm going to do two. One is from Taiwan and their newspaper here, and I'm just going to go to the actual main page now. Here is the Taiwanese news, obviously from Taiwan, and I'm just leaving this on a record button so you can see. But it's mainly about the elections, like it would be in America, like it would be in England, like it would be in Germany, like it would be in other countries like Japan, for example. But you can see all the headlines here. Taiwan Vice President candidate share thoughts. This guy saying unification is actually something or the other. And if we scroll down, just down the page, Ho, you, he, whatever, makes a final campaign push in Taichung. What else is there? Lei says who distancing himself from Ma during the Taiwan election. I haven't really been following it, to be honest with you. Taiwan County Council speaks to face of interrogation on election eve. South Korea overturns their most popular. It's all going to be about Taiwan's election day. And that's sort of like the front page of the Taiwanese news. Again, if it was the general election in the UK or the US, it would be the same. Now, China claims to be that Taiwan is part of their country. Now, whether you agree, whether you're not, what you think, basically, if you went to Taiwan and said, is Taiwan part of China? They would say, no, we have a democracy, we have a constitution, we have our own laws, we have our own passport, we have our own money, we are just not part of China. We are Taiwan. We are the Republic of China. We are not the People's Republic. And you can see from the pictures that I showed you, or the screenshots, well, basically, you could see that people are turning out in their droves to elect their new president whenever they become president. I'm not too sure with that. Let's go to the People's Republic of China and see what the news is reporting about Taiwan. Part of their country, they say. So here is the Global Times. Now, and this is from today. There's nothing fake here, but we can see the headlines. Now, if Taiwan was part of China, surely they would be doing something related to the elections. But it seems like pretty zero. Xi urges more bridges to be built between China and Europe. China has ample room for policy maneuvering. China foreign trade grows by 0.2% in 2023. China-US launching working group on climate action amidst serious interactions in various fields. BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative decade, saying that. Is there anything? I'm just doing this without actually looking beforehand. US urge loosen high-tech curbs on China. China-Australia grows up by 9.8%. China mediates formal ceasefire between Myanmar military and arms. China-Russia soars. Western politicians de-risking approach. Anything? 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 I'm just looking at the same time as you. Well, that's their front page, and nothing. Zero. Why? Even though they are run by two separate governments, Taiwan is a democracy because it has direct voting to the people, to the president. China they say they have a democracy, but it's voting in a different way. You can't directly choose your next leader like you can in America, England, maybe Japan, I don't know, for the prime minister. But it's global times, and this is a very important election for whatever you want to call it, the province of Taiwan or the country of Taiwan. And it should be. Now, if I go to a different newspaper, I'm not going to, but I can guess, like you could say like the Guardian or the Washington Post. Maybe not front page, but it would be there. But in the Chinese newspapers, zero about Taiwan. Why? Because this is how the Chinese government, run by Xi Jinping, sort of like brainwashes, dictates. If it's not, that they can take it away from the news, because the newspapers, who are state-owned and state-run, basically would say, no, make sure there's nothing about Taiwan, and later today, or maybe tomorrow, it will be announced that who is the new leader of the country or the Republic of China, Taiwan, if that makes sense to you. It gets quite confusing in that way. China and Taiwan, ever since 1949, near enough had this status quo of what's happening. In other words, it's sort of like peaceful, but there's always something in the background about, is China going to invade Taiwan? I think the answer to that is going to be no, because they're just going to look like stupid, evil people for invading their own country and sparking off another civil war if Taiwan is part of China. I've forgotten what I'm going to say, but I think it's time for a break. Now, we are going to be advertised today by my favorite car in the world. And today's video is sponsored by BYD, the best car, better than a Mercedes in the world. And welcome back. Now, we are continuing with the election in Taiwan, and again later today, the 13th of January 2024, maybe tomorrow, depending on your time zone, it will be announced who the next president of Taiwan is going to be. Is it still going to be the continuing party, or is it going to be a different party? There are some parties in Taiwan who do support the CCP, and this is the thing. They talk about reunification with this, but the people in Taiwan are sort of scared about reunification. Why? Because they look at Hong Kong, a neighbor very close to them, what happened. Now, in 1997, before that, the United Kingdom, you could say, had leased Hong Kong, or was for 99 years. The Chinese government had leased it to them. And in 1997, it was handed over back to China. You may remember on the news, there was Prince Charles there. There was the leader of China there. And there was Chris Patton, who was the executive something or the other. And they all got onto Her Majesty's boat at the time, I can't remember the royal yacht, and disappeared round the corner. What happened after that is a completely different story. And then there was like one China. Many people were happy. Some people decided to run away from Hong Kong because they sort of like said, no, I'm happy with the British government, it's the end. And many countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, for example, let these Hong Kong citizens go and emigrate and live in their country because they just didn't want the communists in their life. And the simple agreement was between the two of Hong Kong and China and the UK, 50 years, one country, two systems. But that soon changed. Near enough when Xi took power and said, no, I'm not having that. We can do it with Chinese. And near enough, we can do what we want. And in the last 10 years, China has done what they want, and they get away absolutely with blue murder. So the people in Taiwan, they see Hong Kong and they say, reunification? What do we have? We have a democracy. We can vote. It's a safe country, it's a clean country, it's a happy country, we have a great passport, we can go to many different countries, etc. And they didn't want it to be turned upside down by the country being ruined, like in Hong Kong, ruined by the Chinese party, the Communist Party of China. If you ever go to Hong Kong, you may meet some people and they would speak quite openly, because they can sort of still speak quite openly. And most people would say, oh, yeah, it's changed so much. Now, I have been in Hong Kong before the Chinese took over. I have been in Hong Kong after. The big difference is, the real big difference is the language. Before, near enough anywhere in Hong Kong, they used to speak Chinese, or it would be Cantonese at the time, and really good English. Since the Chinese have taken over, a lot of people, such a big percentage, just don't speak English. Now, is that good or is that bad? That's up to you, but that's sort of like the whole difference. Working in Hong Kong before, when it was British, really easy. You could actually just go to Hong Kong and actually work, and there was no visa controls. You just were in Hong Kong for 1 year, bam, a stamp on your passport. If you leave, You could go on holiday to, I don't know, Australia, come back again, bam, you got another year to stay in Hong Kong. It was so easy before. Now with the passports, let's say for the British, I can go to Hong Kong, no problem, don't need a visa, bam, it's a 6-month tourist visa. So it's become a lot more difficult with that. Now, I have worked in Hong Kong after 97, but it's like a lot of countries where the company that I was working for would actually get me the visa to stay there legally and get paid, etc., etc. You sort of know the routine. So the people in Taiwan are just scared of this because they see what's happened to Hong Kong. They see they speak to people in Hong Kong related to the matter. They're scared. And what should be the solution? Well, let's do that after the next commercial break. The thing is, at the end of the day, it's the people who suffer. It was the people in Hong Kong who suffered when Xi Jinping took power and sort of introduced the national security law, and people in Hong Kong could protest before, but the Chinese government sort of like squashed it down like that. And I was actually in the protest in 2014, not in the protest, but I was in Hong Kong, and in 2019. And the thing was, the main protests were actually very, very peaceful. You could walk through the protests, no problem. There were some certain areas where I will admit the Western media really did screw up and just showed it like this is happening in all of Hong Kong when it was just tiny, tiny place. And lots of people would say the same. I was in there, but they would only go with the Chinese media. Now, I'm sort of going off topic, but what I'm doing is trying to compare if Taiwan and China, mainland China, got together, but the people are just scared. And I would be exactly the same, because we've seen through history, and even some of the foreign shills in China would say, we always learn from history. Exactly. Yeah, but this is their defense. There should be some kind of discussion between the government of Taiwan and the government of the People's Republic of China. There should be some discussion and to find one solution. Then the people in Taiwan should have a vote, like the Scottish referendum way back whenever it was, or even Brexit in 2016 in the UK. The people should vote whether it should go ahead or not, just yes or no, as a democracy. In China, well, they wouldn't really care, because the Chinese government don't really care about its people, even though it's the People's Republic of China. It's more like Xi's republic, I get rich, don't care about you, and I throw a dog a bone. So in other words, in China, just to make some of the Chinese people happy, we will do something small, like a massive train system, which is actually very good, but it's benefits the people, but it's not total freedom in that way. You can't go on the street of Shanghai and go, Xi Jinping is a complete another idiot. You will be arrested. But in Taipei, you could actually say that, and you could say you don't like the party or the ruling party of the country, or the province, if you want to call it like that. I believe that Taiwan should be a country. It should be independent. It's done so well, and the people don't want China in its government, mainland China. It's as simple as that. They should put it to a vote, and that vote should be shown to the People's Republic of China. It's as simple as that. Would it happen? Well, they can look at history and look at Brexit. They can look at the Scottish referendum. It said in the end that people in Scotland, most of them didn't want to be separated from the UK. The Brexit was a complete surprise for me, because I thought it wouldn't happen. But the people spoke in the United Kingdom say, yes, we want Brexit. Now, I do have my own personal views related to it, and it relates to immigration, but that's a completely different kettle of fish, a different story, and don't really want to go down that path. I haven't voted in the United Kingdom, even though I can, ever since 1987 when I was in university, and I did vote for Margaret Thatcher. I can't remember who the opposition was. I would think it's someone like Neil Kinnock or Michael Foot, someone like that. I might check it up after I've stopped recording. So there is a solution, but one is not just saying reunification and only the reunification in the CCP way, the Chinese Communist Party. There should be a discussion, there should be a meeting, there should be votes. What the people of Taiwan want. They are all Chinese, they are all brothers and sisters in one respect. But you can see when we look at the media how China sort of manipulates that. There's no news about their brothers and sisters voting in Taipei or wherever in Taiwan for the next democratic leader. Nothing. So it's you could even say, if there's no news, it's good news. And you can see of some of the headlines from the Global Times, that is all positive, positive, positive. And if there is, I possibly could, if I scrolled through the whole website of the Global Times today, this Chinese newspaper, the Global Times, maybe there'd be a small, tiny article about Taiwan, but it would just be there. And this is how the government manipulates state media. Now, you may say, hold on a minute, the BBC is state media. People actually pay a tax for your TV license in the UK, which does support the BBC. Now, it's not just news. There's like 7 or 8 channels nowadays: BBC One, BBC Two, BBC Three, BBC Four, all the radio from Radio 1, Radio 2, Radio 3, Radio 4, etc., etc. That covers it all. So the news is actually sort of a very small part of the BBC empire, but you do pay a TV tax. I think it's like 170 something pounds per year. It's really expensive, but you won't get advertising through it. So it's just part of a way of paying for your entertainment without advertising. Do I like it? No, I'm used to advertising it. Nowadays I watch Netflix, Amazon or Apple Plus. That's my TV, and about $27 per month. Multiply that by 12. I can't work it out, but most possibly the same amount of money for the BBC license. But that's the BBC for you. And I've really forgotten what I'm going to say, so let's leave it there for today. I would love to hear your comments, and I would love for you to share this on your social media with your friends, etc. I would really be your best friend for life if you subscribe to the channel, and also give it a thumbs up if you like, give it a thumbs down if you don't. And what else? Oh yes, I will love you, I will marry you if you donate money to this channel, and you can do so through super thanks and through the links in the description below. Let's say goodbye for now. I'm waffling on. You could say this is some kind of coffee chat. I don't even have a title for this video yet, but I do enjoy making videos. I like to put my point of view across. I think it's quite logical in my world. Maybe you would disagree entirely, and you find Southeast Asia or Asia quite fascinating compared to the so-called Western world. When was it? In November, I did actually go to the United Kingdom because of personal reasons. My mum unfortunately passed away. I just find it very strange. When I was in Heathrow Airport, I was asking directions to get my car, and one of the customer care people just shouted at me and they said, go that way. And I was just asking politely. Then I asked him not to shout at me, and then he shouted back, I'm not shouting at you. then I also said thank you for your time. I did find the car. Driving in the United Kingdom, yep, they do drive on the wrong side. The speed limit is 70 miles an hour. The driving is actually quite polite compared to Asia. You sort of like, when I go past the T section, for example, that I will slow down naturally. And even if it's sort of like on a quiet road, can I say quiet? You may even sort of like flash the lights or honk your horn, which is really common in Asia. You sort of got to go with the flow. So driving in England is sort of like, I can do this when I'm sleeping. While driving in Asia, you really have to concentrate, etc., etc. So these kind of differences always sort of shock me in the Western world. I would love to, because I haven't been for such a long time. I would love to go back to the United States. The last time was 2012. I was in New York for quite a while. I love New York. It's very expensive. I just like the atmosphere. But as one song says, don't stay in New York too long. It will make you hard. Don't stay in California too long. It will make you soft. But I just really enjoy the United States to go and visit, so I would love to do that, but it does involve a lot of money. And the cost of living in Asia is a lot cheaper than, you could say, England, Germany, Norway. Forget, I wouldn't even get through the front door. I think a beer is something like $15, for example. But anyhow, I really am rabbiting on. So let's say goodbye and thank you very much. Cheerio.